Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy, also ETCG1 here. Hey, if it's your birthday, I want to wish you a happy birthday. Everybody likes to get wished a happy birthday. It's just how it is. Now that we're past that little piece of business, why don't we get to the topic at hand, which is the Fairmont project. Past, present, future. The object of this video is to basically address a lot of the questions that have been asked about the Fairmont project along the way. And I thought I would address those and sort of give you some insight into where the project is today, which is actually February 28th, 2017, and my projected completion time, all that kind of stuff. So why don't we just get right to the chase. One of the most asked questions is, Eric, when is it going to be done? Well, as I said, it's the last day of February 2017 right now. You can see behind me, I have finished all the accessories on the front of the engine. I have a few more things to finish up on that. I'm going to wrap that little last piece of pipe down there that you can see. I've already wrapped the headers with this titanium exhaust wrap stuff. That is set for completion actually today. I'm a little bit behind because if you've read the most recent newsletter, cameraman Brian's mom passed away a couple of weeks ago. That sort of changed his schedule, so I haven't been shooting with him, and also Derek hasn't been as available. So I've actually been in the shop shooting by myself for the past couple of weeks, and you know, it's kind of cool kicking it old school. It does take more time. And these are the kind of things that have come up all through this build. And you know, I've sort of touched on this in other videos about how overbuilding makes it awesomer and that stuff, but I bought the car initially in the fall of 2014 and I drove it, and it was always my intention to drive it and do a little fix-up stuff along with it along the way, while I was saving money for what I really wanted to do, which is what I'm in the midst of now, which I started in 2016 in earnest, is when I really started. So the videos that you're seeing now, I believe you're somewhere around, I was fitting some things in the engine compartment, like the water pump and the alternator and like that, I think are some of the most recent postings. And then there's going to be the installation of the TKO 600 transmission, because the T5 wasn't going to handle the kind of power that the Dark Matter Pikachu was pointing out. That has set things back. So in other words, I've ended up doing a lot of things twice. The suspension I've ended up doing twice. I started out with just a regular Mustang 4-link with upgraded parts, and now I've moved to a torque arm with a panhard bar, which that was a whole, that's a series of videos that you're going to be seeing. I've also switched out the front K-member and tubular lower control arms. I now have coilovers in the front. So, you know, what I started out, my original vision was to drop a V8 in a Fairmont and have some fun. That has gone above and beyond what I had initially set out to do. In fact, I should have been done by now if that was all I was going to do, you know, after buying the Mustang. Two things sort of derailed my plans initially, and number one was the addition of the turbo. The turbo has created a lot more challenges along the way, not only routing the turbo, but with the engine and the amount of power that it can handle. Also finding out that the engine block that I'd gotten out of my '82 Mustang donor car was not necessarily going to work. Things started spiraling from there. I struggled to come up with a term or a label for what the Fairmont is or going to be. It was originally intended to be a sleeper. So in other words, you know, a car that went faster than it looked. It still, I believe, is going to be that. You know, it remains to be seen. It's not running yet. It's sort of crossed over into the realm of like street machine, because it's not a drag racing car. It was never set up to be a drag racing car. I know that I took it to the drag strip and did a run with it just to see what it was like in its stock form. I'd also intended to take it to a racetrack and run it around the racetrack to see how it performed in its stock form once again. But that I've come to find is a lot more involved than just going to the track, the drag strip, because the drag strip, you basically lay down like 20 some bucks or whatever on a test and tune night, and you can go out there and run on the track to your heart's content. Point is you can just basically pay your money and you can go onto the drag strip and see how fast you can get to the other side, whereas road racing is a completely different animal. They don't want you really out there racing on their tracks until you've had some kind of, well, until you've proved that you're competent, that you have the skills necessary to do that. So in other words, I was looking at spending some time going up, taking classes to verify my ability to drive a car around a track to start with, and then afterwards the car itself would have to pass, a tech inspection in order to get it out there and run it around the track. So in other words, just the time involved in doing that made that really not practical. I wanted to get to working on the car more than I did of trying to get an idea of what it did on the track before and after. Not to mention the track that I'm talking about is about a 2.5 hour drive from where I am, so that would encompass a lot of time and extra investment just to get that for you. Sorry I wasn't able to do that, and that I think left people with the impression that this car was basically going to be a drag strip car, which I've been trying to make it so that it was a little bit more than that. I know I'm going with a straight axle. The reason why I went with a straight axle over independent rear suspension, actually there's a couple of reasons for that. Yes, independent rear suspension would make it corner better and like that, but the research that I did beforehand indicated that it might be too heavy and it might be more trouble than it's worth. And initially, like I said, I just wanted to make the car into a sleeper, so I didn't really see independent rear suspension as something that I was going to do. At the point that the car is now, kind of scratch my head and say, yeah, that would have been probably a good idea, but I'm not going back at this point. I've taken a lot of those parts that I've taken off of the Fairmont and have moved them into the back of the Mustang. As far as the fate of the Mustang, I'm not really sure. I mean, I pretty much have a car there with the exception of an engine. I mean, I've got a new K-member, I've got a good transmission, I've got a drive shaft, but the rear end and differential on that was hacked up pretty good. Also the rear suspension. They just took those coilovers and bolted them right up through the floor, so that's not gonna fly with me. So there's, a lot that needs to be addressed on that car to bring that to life. However, like I said, I'll have a lot of parts that I didn't use on the Fairmont that could possibly be used on the Mustang. Once again, I'm not really worried about that right now. I'm focused on getting the Fairmont done. So getting back to that, as I said, the engine is just about done. I'm going to be working on some video today as far as finishing up the little bits on that. The new K-member and front suspension, it has been installed in the Fairmont. I am going to have to put longer wheel studs up there because I ran into some issues with fitment between the coilovers and the front tires. So that required the use of spacers. I have premium member videos about the specifics on a lot of this stuff that I'll post links to in the description if you're truly interested. But as far as completion, my goal, my dad's supposed to visit in late April. If I could have the car running and driving then, that would be awesome. But it would also be kind of a miracle because really I'm down to about 3 days a week and no cameraman. So I'm a little behind. Having a cameraman is great because I can really just kind of continue to work and leave it to them to try to get the shots and everything. But working by myself, I have to set every shot up myself, and that does take quite a bit more time. However, on the flip side, I can stay later. So it's not like I'm saying, well, you're probably hungry, you should go home and get some dinner, Brian or Derek. Be gone with you. No, now I can stay pretty much until I feel like leaving. And I have done that a couple of times here trying to get the car done. What still remains to be done after I get the engine and everything back into the car is I need to adjust the entire suspension and align it. And I'll do that with the weight of the engine in it, and I also want to do it with the weight of me in it. I also want to remove the interior because it'll be a lot easier to remove the dashboard. I want to redo the HVAC. Now that I have AC back on the table here, I need to figure out what goes on inside the car because the kit that I got came with everything except for the evaporator and everything from that point on. And I do have an evaporator that's in the Ford now, but it was for an R12 system and it was an add-on from the dealer. So in other words, I'm looking at completely redoing the HVAC, which as far as bolting it in, I've got a system out of a Mustang. That may not be a problem, but getting it all to work, especially the AC part, because I have a new wiring harness that I intend to install in this car from Painless Wiring. Thing is, I don't think it has everything necessary for the AC, meaning that I'll have to wire up all my relays and all my switches, and I'm also looking at the system and the connectors that I'll probably need. So I'm thinking I'll head to a salvage yard and try to cannibalize an existing Fox body with an AC system and pull those bits out of the harness, if nothing else, the connectors, so that I can connect everything up more easily. Then I need to get all the gauges in there and get all the gauges and everything hooked up. I'm having a custom fuel tank made right now, or fuel cell I should probably call it. I've rethought the entire fuel system. I'm now going with steel braided line for the whole thing, a Dash 8 fittings and all that kind of stuff. So that's the size that I'm using. So it'll have plenty of fuel. and it'll be sort of future-proof in case I do decide at some point to switch over to fuel injection if I decide that that's necessary for whatever reason. So I'm preparing for that. This is the way it is with these projects. It's a lot of unanticipated consequences and expenses. And like I've said, I've talked about this in other videos, but I have an extra layer of complication in that I am documenting the entire process. I'm videotaping the entire process, and it's given me a lot of material and a lot of videos, but from the views, what I'm seeing is less and less people are interested in what's happening with the Fairmont, other than they would just want to see it done and running. They don't really care about all the little details and things along the way. I started the Fairmont project in an effort to try to familiarize my audience with every system on the vehicle. So in other words, steering, suspension, the differential, the transmission, the engine, and everything that goes along with making a vehicle into what a vehicle is, because there's no real better way to understand it than building it. And that's what I thought I would do with this whole series. I thought, well, I've been making these repair videos for a while, and those are fine and good, and they reach a very specific group of people, but I thought with building this Fairmont that I would end up with a nice library of, different systems and how they're put together and how they're engineered and how they come together to make a performance vehicle. And I thought that might be interesting. Unfortunately, with the setbacks and things that I've mentioned earlier in this video, it's turned into something, well, kind of a project and an entity in and of itself. And as I said, I think views have suffered as a result. So I struggle with that, and that's why this year, 2017, I've begun to incorporate at least one repair video into the month to try to sort of even it out. And also for my own sanity, because working on the same thing all the time just kind of drives you a little bit nutty. And this was an effort to try to address that. A number of plans that I'd made at the onset of the Fairmont project have been altered along the way. And I think that's how it goes. It's just par for the course. It's hot rodding, for lack of a better word. I mean, you start out with a plan and you work your best to achieve that goal or that plan, and you adjust along the way. And that's what I've been doing. So the disconnect between the videos that you're seeing now and the videos that I'm shooting now, because you're looking behind me going, Eric, when are we going to see those videos on all that stuff being bolted to the front of the engine, the K-member, everything that you just mentioned? After the TKO 600 installation, the next thing that's going to be up is rebuilding the rear suspension with the torque arm and the pan-hard bar, and the new stabilizer bar that's actually bolted to the body of the vehicle will work as a stabilizer bar as opposed to what I had before. So that's going to be next, and that's going to be a substantial amount of time, a couple of months or whatever. And as far as when I shot those videos, I think I did all that after the meetup. So we're talking like August is when those videos were shot. So just to give you an idea, those videos were shot in August, they're airing now. And it's because I have such a volume of videos on the Fairmont project that I have this backlog, that and the editing that it takes to make all this happen and come together. We'll come in here and we'll shoot for an entire day and get, several hours worth of footage that I'll have to comb through and shave down to like 30-minute segments or just 30 minutes. So I might start with 3 hours of footage and have to shave that down to 30 minutes. And that takes a great deal of time, several edits working through that material to try to make it engaging and interesting and something that's, watchable. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. And nobody said anything about the production value of my videos other than, they like the 60p, they like the way it looks, they like the way it sounds and all that. So I've gotten compliments on the production value, which I worked very hard to achieve that. That gives you an idea of where it's at. Now, I'm gonna put this question to you, and that is, what do you want to see? I know you want to see all of it. I know you want the car to be done now. I get it. I want it to be done now. I want it all done now also. But there's only so much I could do as far as the videos. Do I skip ahead to something like bolting all the stuff onto the front of the engine, or do I follow the progression of the build, which that's what I feel would be best. Because things get out of context. You wonder, where was the last video? What happened with this? You don't have a frame of reference that is chronological, which I'd like to try and maintain that. But that's where I'm struggling, because like I said, not everybody's interested in the Fairmont project, and you know what, I get it. And they want other, shorter, more targeted repair type videos. Fine. I want to make you happy, but at the same time, the Fairmont makes me very happy. In fact, I came in here last week, even after shooting and all that stuff, and I did some work on this engine that I never filmed one bit of. But I turned the radio on and just hung out for like half a day, just working on this engine, making it right, doing what I wanted to do with it. And it was very zen for me, and I really enjoyed it. And those of you that have project cars or just like tinkering with your cars out in the garage, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. But because I'm an automotive YouTuber, every time I do that, in the back of my head is like, you know, are you screwing the fans over by not sharing this with them? Well, making videos of repairs and doing repair videos is completely different than just doing the repairs. And the fact that a lot of you aren't aware of that, I think is testament to my ability to make the videos that I make, because you know, you're not seeing the production as it happens. You're becoming emotionally attached to the material in the video itself. So you're completely glossing over, not everybody, but a lot of people are completely glossing over all that and just getting to the emotional side of things, which, like I said, on some levels I take as a compliment, but at the same time I want to serve you as the audience, because there's a give and take between us, and I don't want to lose you, so to speak, because I decided to build this car. I'd like to try to find some middle ground where I can build my car and be happy, and you can get the videos that you want and also be happy. So if you could, provide some feedback down in the comments and such, and we'll figure it out. There's also going to be a link in the description to a discussion about this video over at ericthecarguy.com. Automotive questions, ericthecarguy.com, linked in the description. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you wish to connect with me socially. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I want to thank you for putting up with my little diatribe here, and I will see you next time with another birthday wish. See you later.